Good afternoon, friends. So, I just witnessed the Great American Solar Eclipse, which was pretty crazy. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about that and also talk about my tattoo, which is a sun, and kind of connect the two things and just sort of share my thoughts about the sun. So, if you guys didn't know, I'm very interested in astrology as well as Myers-Briggs. And I have a video actually about that, about why I believe in it, that I can link below. But I just wanted to share as well. Sorry, someone's texting me. I have to answer it right now. I wanted to share as well that I'm someone who is very susceptible to the emotional changes in astrology. Like if there's a full moon or a new moon, those things I tend to just be more emotional in those days. And I didn't really notice it until I started paying attention, and the more I got into astrology, like, it would be really weird actually. Like, I would feel like either fearful, and then I would check, and then it would make sense, or I would feel like constricted somehow, or I would feel super emotional, or like I would feel like a specific way, and then I have this app actually called Time Passages that tells you where the stars are at that moment, and it was really weird. Like, the more I got into it, the more I would like look at where the stars are, and it would sort of help me understand why I was in a weird mood. And I know a lot of people might say that sounds like confirmation bias, but if you took the time to really learn about astrology and all the nuance behind it and how each planet and each position is very specific to itself, you would understand that with so many multitude of combinations, then it's kind of hard to... It'd be pretty rare for it to, like, always work, like, I don't know. And especially whenever you're feeling a specific emotion, and then it very specifically is laid out on the chart, looking at the Mars and the Venus and the moon and the sun, and it very specifically fits with that specific feeling that you have. And if you are a feeler, you probably know what I mean. Like, if you are a feeler in the Myers-Briggs, I would guess, honestly, ENFJ and INFPs probably know the most what I'm talking about, as intuitives that are also feelers first. You probably know what I'm talking about because you get in weird moods probably 90% of your life. Like, moods are just a thing that you deal with, and if you are an ENFJ or an INFP, and all other feeler types for that matter, then you probably know the difference between feeling sadness plus hopefulness versus sadness and shame versus hopelessness and confusion. Like, there are so many different combinations. Like, it's not just good and bad. And I think a lot of times thinkers live in this world of, I feel good, I feel bad, where there's so many specific feelings that you can have that it's really interesting when you look at the stars and they fit with that or whatever. But anyway, today I knew that the energy was going to be crazy today, because not only am I a Leo, and this Great American Solar Eclipse is going to be happening in the sign of Leo, but I live in Kansas City, Missouri, which is one of the cities that is going to see a totality of the eclipse. And I got off work today, actually, and so I decided for the first half of the day to really focus on myself and cleanse some of my past emotions, and really, I knew that if I wasn't centered, then I was going to get super reactionary and probably have some not helpful emotions, if that makes sense. Like, I could get sensitive. Like, I feel like if I wasn't grounded today, I had the potential to get pretty sensitive. And I was right. Like, I already cried a couple times today. But actually, let me just share. Let me find this. I made an Excel spreadsheet full of prompts, and then I numbered them all from like 1 to 48, and then I've been using a random number generator in the morning to try and figure out what to do. So basically, I had a whole bunch of different meditations, a whole bunch of different yoga poses or practices, a bunch of different journaling prompts, and I would like write them all out, and then on another column I wrote like how many minutes I wanted to do them. Like, okay, so I like got in a wreck, right? So I had on there for like meditate about what your dream car would look like, 5 minutes. So there's like some visualizations, there's some sort of like wish granting, and then there's some meditations where it's like, there was one I did where I like tried to go through my childhood. It was like a 30-minute one where I went from like age 1 to 10, and I tried to have every feeling come up from each age, and I got actually some interesting patterns from that. I understood a lot about myself after doing that. Basically, I realized that in every way that I would ever act out as a child was because I did not feel seen, and I did not feel like whatever I was doing would be noticed, because I didn't feel like I was getting the love and attention that I deserved. And so every time I would act out, it was because I literally did not think anyone would notice or care, because I felt like nobody cared or noticed me at all. And another thing is, I realized after doing that meditation how interesting it was how I was able to, every time I would get betrayed by a friend, which happened a lot, like I did not have very good luck with friends or relationships really, like I felt like people were always shutting me down. But every time that happened, like I would still decide to be myself at the end of the day, which is something I'm very proud of about myself, because I basically have never felt that sense of belonging where everything about me has been praised and appreciated and accepted, which, you know what, like most people probably are in the same boat. Like, I think it'd be pretty rare for there to be someone that feels 100% loved and accepted in every way. But for me, that's been sort of my like life story thing that I tell myself or whatever. But that was just one of those things, and I really wanted to just like surrender all day to a greater power and not have my mind be overthinking and everything. And I thought that if I tried to force having a hangout with a group of friends or family when it just didn't seem to really be happening, it seemed like there wasn't anything that felt like my tribe or my scene during this eclipse that I wanted to do. I wasn't able to, my parents weren't off work, so like, and my sister wasn't here, so, you know, there wasn't really anything that seemed like I gotta do this. And so, as opposed to forcing it, I wanted to just do my own thing, and I took that as like a sign to focus on myself. But anyway, I want to talk about this sun tattoo for just a second. I really love suns. I'm a Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun, and when I say I am a Leo, I mean that my sun sign is in Leo, because everything matters. There's like lots of different aspects. Anyway, not going to go into that. I'm not an astrologer. I'm just an astrology fanatic. I'm not someone that just is going on the bandwagon about it. Like, I've been interested in it for like 4 years, and so I have done some of my friends' charts, but I still don't consider myself an expert. It's kind of like how I was about Myers-Briggs like 3 years ago, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, I talk about it, yeah, I know about it, but like, until I'm an expert, I'm not going to talk about it. And I feel like I'm an expert in Myers-Briggs, which is why, at least relative to someone with, I mean, all those things are relative. Like, I'm not like a 90-year-old man who's been studying this for ages. I'm not Carl Jung, but I feel like relatively I am more comfortable sharing, whereas for astrology I'm not. But anyway, you get the idea. If you're interested, go look it up. I would recommend to not just knock it until you try it or until you understand it, because it's deeper than you think. Like, this is not just... You might believe it's pseudoscience, but if it is pseudoscience, it's really, really fucking intricate pseudoscience. Like, it makes Myers-Briggs look like child's play. Like, honestly. Like, all the nuance in there is just ridiculous. But anyway, I got this tattoo, actually, because I really like the symbol of the sun, which kind of related to how I related to the sign of Leo. But what I like about the sun is how it doesn't move its orbit. Like, it stays put, and it just shines, and just from being itself, somehow it's able to bring so much to the rest of the solar system. It doesn't bend over backwards for the other planets. It just, by nature of shining and by nature of being itself, it brings so many things to Earth. It brings warmth. It brings its gravity makes seasons go. Like, it brings light so that we can see. It brings food, like, so you can grow plants. Like, I'm not even going to go into all the reasons why the sun helps us. Like, I think you get the idea. But the point is that, like, the sun doesn't have to not be itself. Like, the sun helping the earth is directly dependent on the sun being in its place and just shining. And I think that if you were to take that metaphor and apply it to people, then you would think about how, what am I saying? Like, the sun would symbolize a person that is being themselves and is sharing themselves and is being a light. It's not telling you, believe this. It's not telling you, here, let me help you. It's not telling you, like, you're wrong, let me fix you. Like, it's not acting at all. It's just shining the light on the truth, shining the light on love. It's being love, it's being light. It doesn't have to tell you what love is. It doesn't have to show you anything. Just by being itself is all that it needs. And you could be yourself and be an incredible light, an incredible inspiration, and bring so much love to the world just by being yourself. Like, it doesn't take any more thought. It doesn't take any more emotion. That's what I'm trying to do with my life. And that's something that inspires me behind this channel, is that I really believe, because I've watched other YouTubers, that them sharing their perspective and them sharing their emotions has helped my life. And I find that more valuable than someone taking themselves out of the equation and just, like, doing a scholarly explanation, or, like, someone trying to help you. I don't know, like, I guess I'm just saying that sometimes you don't have to do anything to be the biggest help. Sometimes your presence is more than enough. And I love that idea. And I got this tattoo because I was severely depressed for, like, an entire year after, like, a relationship ended, and there was some shit going on with my family, and it all happened all at once, and my worldview was completely shattered. Like, I used to believe that, like, things made sense, and that just a sort of generic view of, like, positivity brings positivity, negativity brings more negativity. But I still think that is generally true, but it's way more complex than that, and, like, we don't know what's negative or what's positive at the time. Like, these things reveal it ourselves to us. Like, we can't ever get so cocky that we think we know literally everything that's going on. But anyway, I got this at a time in my life when I really wanted to remind myself to, like, stay put. Like, my mind can wander, like, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do this, or maybe I did this wrong, or this, when really I just needed to be, and I needed to shine, and me being and shining is going to help the world in more ways than I knew, and I invite you all to entertain that thought and think about how it applies to you. Because I really believe more than anything that there is a place for every person on this earth to bring light and to bring greatness. And if you feel a tug of war, like in your job or in your relationship, I don't believe that that's the right place to be. And I sometimes sometimes you might think, oh no, I'm just not grateful enough. But if your dreams and if you feel like you should be elsewhere, then be elsewhere, because where you are at right now is somebody else's dream. And you might need to leave an open space for them. Like maybe if you're in a job that's not satisfying you, there is like millions of, I don't know about millions, but there's plenty of people that would want your job now and would be thankful and would feel like they were serving the world in the best way if they were in that position. So it's kind of like get information, alright? Like get in your place and try and figure out where that place is where you can stand still and shine and offer the world almost with ease, almost without effort. That's at least the way that I look at it. But anyway, so went outside my apartment when the eclipse happened, and I fucking bawled whenever the totality came. It was only for like 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, where I had my little goggle things on, my eclipse glasses, and then I took them off. And then I was looking at them, and then I couldn't see anything through it, and I took them off, and it was just this like faint ring, and everything was dark. And of course, the very moment of the eclipse, a freaking ambulance and police car just zoomed by, and I was like, oh gosh, like that energy is afflicting somebody else somewhere. Oh no, like God save them. But and of course I was listening to music, and I was on and my headphones were on, and it's interesting. I a lot of times read into synchronicity and serendipity and like random chance occurrences like that, but I was just in shuffle. A lot of times I think that, you know, whatever comes up on shuffle is like important. But it was the song Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead whenever the totality happened, and I thought that was just so perfect. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, I am so grateful to live on this earth, and like crying or whatever. But I also was just thinking about how like, even whenever the sun isn't out, like I don't know, like the sun also doesn't have to feel pressure. Like if we're continuing this metaphor of you being the sun and you using that light of the sun within you, the sun doesn't have to be shining at all times. And sometimes it's even the most beautiful whenever it's not shining for a moment. And so if you need to take a moment to not shine a bit and feel just, I don't know, like go within, then that's fine too. Like, you know, like, I don't know if this is even making sense. This is just like random, like, maybe only NFJs will understand this stream of consciousness because it all connects to me. It all makes sense to me. It all makes sense to me. The astrology, the song, the tattoo, thinking about the sun, thinking about my life, thinking about positivity, thinking about being my best person, thinking about how the sun doesn't have to shine 24/7 for it to still be worthy and lovable. You know, like, yeah, so intense day. I have a feeling that I'm going to be pretty emotional about this energy of the eclipse. I'm going to be paying close attention to the news to see if anything crazy happens. Probably going to be journaling and doing some other stuff on my list. The rest of the day, I wanted to get this video in, but I'm going to go back to doing some more Myers-Briggs videos tomorrow. Okay, so, yeah, thank you for listening. If you were able to see the eclipse, please comment and let me know what that was like for you. So, have a good day.